there. So today I've got Melissa, and we're going to hear from Melissa, hear about her story, hear about the impact that Rise has had in her life and the lives of those around her as a result of her changes. So it's pretty exciting to bring these women into this space where you get to hear their stories. So my name is Melanie Wilson. I'm the founder of Rise, and Rise is a community of women who are authentic, trustworthy, and honest. We are choosing to show up, dig in, and do the hard work. And as a result, we are rising up. But what makes Rise so different is it's truly a safe place to land. It's where women are met with compassionate action. There's no comparing, there's no judging, there's no simply standing by and watching women struggle. It's about collaborating and partnering and empathizing and fighting with her and for her. And as a result of what I am dedicated to, committed to with our core values and that whole idea of compassion action, you're going to hear from Melissa and her story and get to see what that actually does in a woman's life. So, Melissa, thank you for coming.
Absolutely.
I know this is uncomfortable for you.
Very.
I remember when we first met, when you came to your very first Rise event, I joked that I didn't think you could speak.
No, because I did not. I was
So
very quiet.
tell me what that felt like to show up at the first event.
So my first event I came to with a friend of mine. She talked me into coming because I tried to get out of it, and she talked me into coming. And so we sat down, and Melanie got up to start to speak, and I'm like, she has a lot more energy than anybody I know. And as she was speaking, it was hitting very close to home for me. But I didn't want to say anything because, again, I was a very quiet, reserved person, and I was going through a lot of stuff in my life. So just kind of sat there and listened and listened. And I don't think I spoke hardly at all that night until you made us speak. And then I took a lot with me that night. And then I think I reached out to you a couple weeks later.
Yeah, it was pretty quick.
It was pretty
Pretty
fast.
quick. So you brought a picture.
I did.
So let's look at this picture, the fun flamingos. But what I want to know is, who is this woman that is in this picture? Who is she?
So this was actually on my honeymoon.
Okay.
There's a smile there. It's a smile that hides everything behind it. It's the one that I put on for everyone because of everything I'd been through, and I didn't want anybody to know that I wasn't okay, that I could pretend I could be okay. No one would know. And for a very, very long time, no one knew that there was so many things behind me, and that is the other reason why I was so quiet. So I was a lot heavier then too. I was a very, very different person. Very different.
Okay. You're not that same woman anymore.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. So let's talk about, coming to your first Rise event. And I know it was scary for you, especially because I don't let you be quiet. I don't let you stay stuck. That's not what I want for you. It's not what God wants for you. But there was something that clicked. Something inside of you said, this is my time. I'm going to do this. Help me understand what that was for you.
That night, I didn't realize it. I knew that there was something different. I went home after that event, and I kept thinking about it, and I kept thinking about it, and I kept thinking about it. And then when I reached out to you, I think I told you, it's been on my mind ever since the night I met you.
Yeah.
There was just some type of connection, something there that I needed in exactly that moment. I still can't tell you what it was.
Yeah.
It was there. It was just there.
So we talk about a safe place to land. Help me understand how you feel about that authentic, real, safe place to land.
I appreciate it immensely. I tell people all the time, I'm not a very open book person. I keep very quiet. I keep to myself. I've always been that way. Not so much anymore. But I love being able to have a place that I can go to where I don't have to pretend. I don't have to put on my work face where I have to be tough and strong. It is okay for me to say, I'm not okay. I need somebody's help. I'm I'm scared, I'm afraid, I'm whatever it is at the time.
Right.
I'm anxious, I'm freaking out over here. Whatever that may be, it's nice to know that no matter who I say that to in this group of women, it stays in this group of women unless we're reaching out to each other to help that same person.
Right.
I love that part.
It's good stuff.
Yeah, it's
good
absolutely.
Stuff. So, anxiety. Yeah, just the word alone, right?
Absolutely.
It's a big thing in your life. It
huge.
has been for quite some time. Tell me what anxiety looked like for you, felt like for you before Rise, and what are you noticing with anxiety as a result of investing in the Rise Up process, working with me as your coach?
So before, anxiety was I had to control everything. It didn't matter what it was. I had a panic attack for the first time in probably years. I was actually standing in the middle of a store and I started to freak out over, I don't even know what it was. It was nothing. But it literally brought me to a point where I couldn't breathe. I was crying. I couldn't get myself calmed down. My anxiety, which I didn't realize was anxiety for a very long time, was always there. It was always there. It was never gone. I always felt on edge. I always felt like I was tense. I always felt like I could never relax. What was going to happen next? It started probably when I was a lot younger and I didn't realize what a lot of it was. I think I got the words when I went to the doctor's office and I was sitting on his table, shaking,
right?
Couldn't breathe, crying, and he just looks at me and he goes, "Your anxiety is through the roof." And I was like, "That's what this is?"
Right.
Okay, can we do something about
now
this?
Now what?
Now I've noticed that I can feel it when it starts. So I don't have it all the time. It's not always there. When I feel it coming, I'm able to notice that it's coming up and I can do something. I can stop myself from getting to the full panic mode. If, example, I had an auditor walk into my office and my brain went completely to anxiety. And my first message was to Melanie, my anxiety is really high right now. Help me. And she did. She helped me. 100% helped me. Her voice is calming to me. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is about your voice. It's just one of those things that when my anxiety gets that high, I can say, talk to me, just talk to me. Her voice is enough that I can bring myself back down to where I need to be so then I can focus on what it is I need to do.
Right, that's powerful.
Yeah.
She loves my voice. What is that? So I have taught you and really pressed into you to understand these tools, and we call them our Rise Up Power Tools. So reaching out to me to engage that way is one of those tools that helps you take control, because control is important to you. Control is one of the struggles we're dealing with. But what are some other Rise Up Power Tools that you now have that you are confident to execute when the anxiety is triggered?
I'm able to go to, I have a focus picture on the back of my door. Actually, it's one of my group of tribe members that we're very close, and it's on the back of my door at work. So when I start to feel it come up before it gets to that overwhelming point, I can stop, go to my door, shut it, look at the picture, focus myself on that so that then I can turn around and focus on whatever it may be that I need. Same thing goes, I have the pictures on my phone as well, so that if I'm anywhere else, I can do the exact same thing. I can stop, relax, get myself together, and then go ahead and do what needs to be done.
That's powerful.
Absolutely.
One of the other things that I think is extremely helpful for you that you were very resistant to is the journaling, applying those 3 C's, or capture, connect, and conquer. Talk to me a little bit about that process.
I was resistant to it because I had done it before and it just never worked for me. I couldn't think to write. I have too many things in my head until you made me do the mind dump, and then that helped a lot. But then I found that when I journaled, I didn't read it, and I still don't always read it. I just write when I'm feeling in that moment so that I can get it out of my head so that it doesn't keep controlling everything else in my life, which is what was happening.
Mm-hmm.
So I take a few minutes, I write down what it is I'm feeling, and I go from there. But I'm also now writing out my story in general. So it's not just what's happening at the moment. It's looking back on what happened in my life, what made me feel the way I felt, and why. And then I can move forward because I can let it go.
Right. And that's powerful for you.
That's
Letting
huge.
go is significant. That is significant.
Yeah, I don't do that well. I still fight for control, but we're getting there.
But you're learning. You're learning.
Yeah.
So thinking about the rise up process and choosing to invest in it, what would you say is the biggest impact that you have noticed?
It made me a much more outgoing person. I've been that hide in the corner. You can't see me. I don't go to things. I stay home. I'm a hermit person. And now I'm not home very much anymore. I'm always out somewhere. I'm out with friends. I'm out at the gym. I'm here for book club, whatever it is. And those moments are huge to me because I have women that we're the same. And it's wonderful. It's a great community of women, and I love it.
That's good stuff. That's good stuff. So let's talk about the gym.
Sure.
So, in this picture, you were heavier.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, not only hiding behind the smile, but a lot of other unhealthy things. Now we've got you into a new structure where you're focusing on mental and physical well-being. What does that process look like for you?
So we started with physical because I don't eat. I still struggle with that some days.
So Melissa's like me. We have emotional eaters, and then we have emotional non-eaters. Melissa and I are emotional non-eaters.
Yes. So there were times where I might eat once a day. And that is not healthy. It made me miserable. It made me not feel good. It made me not want to do anything except for curl up in my bed. It made the depression worse. It made the anxiety worse. At the times I didn't see that. I thought it was helping me. It wasn't helping me. So
self-sabotaging never does.
No.
You thought, but
I
no.
know, but no. So then I decided I wanted to go to the gym. I wanted to get into the gym. So I started into the gym, but I wasn't focused, and I wanted to be focused. So I started going to classes, and then you come into the gym and she's like, let's do some personal training sessions. And I was like, okay, great. I need somebody to push me because I won't push myself. I'll stand back and I'll do what I have to do, but I won't necessarily push myself. And now I have an injury, which is making it even more of a job for me, but I didn't give up this time. Before, with an injury, I would have just said, you know what, I can't go to the gym. I can't. Now I actually cried because I couldn't go to the gym and I wanted to be in the gym. But it's not just the physical, it's both. And I've heard people, your mental journey is as important as your physical, and they are connected. 100% they are connected. Right. If I don't feel good physically, I don't feel good mentally. And if I don't feel good mentally, I don't feel good physically. They match.
Right. So the personal training sessions, we've got the one-on-ones where it's really about the therapy, the counseling, the digging into that mental, but then you stepped it up and invested in the personal training aspect.
Yes.
What do you notice are similarities or theme, if you will, with both of those, working with me in both areas?
I like the one-on-one in both ways. I like the one-on-one so that, number one, it's a little easier to be honest when it's just one-on-one. And in the personal training sessions, it's hard not to do what you're supposed to when somebody's looking at you and going, you look at me. Don't look down. Don't look up. Don't look to the side. Look at me. So it makes you want to achieve those things, not just for yourself, but to prove to somebody else that you can do it, to prove to yourself that you can do it. Because I didn't have that faith in myself that I could do any of that, get my muscles back, go back to feeling not this person, the person that I'm meant to be.
Right, right. Speaking of not that person, I remember a couple months back where I knew that you were giving me half-truths. And we sat down one time and you were really quiet and you said, I'm ready. Talk to me a little bit about that.
The half-truths came into, you had asked me about my story, and I have a tattoo that says my story isn't over yet. And you asked me about it. give you half an answer. I wasn't 100% honest because I wasn't ready to face that yet. And when I sat down that day, I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I need to talk about it because it's ugly and it's sitting here on me, and I feel like I'm not being honest, and I'm not being honest with myself. So we sat down and I cried. I think I cried before I ever said anything. Because I already knew what I was going to have to say.
Right.
So I sat and I told you, and I said, I was where you were at one point. I was afraid. I didn't feel like I mattered to anyone. I didn't feel like I wanted to be here anymore. Why was I still here? Nobody needed me. My kids didn't need me anymore. They're almost adults. They don't need me like they used to. I have a husband. He's wonderful now, don't get me wrong. But at that point, we were going through some things, and I didn't think he would care if I was gone because he was always at work. He wasn't home. So I was on anti-anxiety meds, depression meds. Took the bottles into the bathroom with me. And I was ready. And something hit me for 2 seconds. And I saw my kids' faces. I said, I can't do this. Can't. They already lost their dad. You can't lose me. And I stopped. But I sat there for a while. And then I was angry at myself. And I was angry that I had even considered it. Because I wanted to be important to somebody. I wanted to matter. So I got up and I went back out into the room. I didn't tell anybody. I told no one. No one knew. Actually, no one knew until I told you. A few people know, not a lot. My husband still doesn't know. My kids do know, and actually, one of my friends knows. But that's it. It's hard. It's still really, really hard, and I still struggle some days with, yes, I matter, and telling myself those things. I've come a long way. Still not quite where I want to be, but it's way further than where I was then.
What did you notice immediately shifting when you shared that with me?
It was like something had been lifted from me. I didn't have to hide behind the fact that I wasn't okay, that I struggled, and that I failed in an attempt to be someone I wasn't, that I could talk about it, and that nobody was judging me, and that I was going to be okay, and I was going to get past this, and that I mattered to someone, even if it was one person. I mattered.
Right. You still matter. Melissa said, like you, and that was directed to me. What I want you to understand is, with this compassionate action and meeting you right where you are, I have been there. I sat where Melissa was sitting and went through that same process, and to be able to look someone in the eye and sit where I'm sitting now, sometimes I don't even have to speak. Like, you can see the hope. And that's what this is about.
Absolutely.
Your story is your story. It's valid, and no one needs to tell you that you should feel this way. You need to be able to honor those emotions, feel your feelings, and work through them, process them in a healthy way. So that's the old Melissa. Of course, we're not to the completely new Melissa. We're making our way.
Yeah,
we're making our way. But what are some of the significant shifts? We talk about the mindset transformation equals behavior modification. Change your mind, change your life. What are some of the significant things that have taken place in your mind that is now being manifested in the behavior that you exhibit?
So knowing that I matter and that I'm important, even to myself, has allowed me to be more honest with people, to open up a lot more. I didn't have girlfriends. I had guy friends. I had a few of them. But up until gosh, until very recently, I didn't have friends. I did not. I didn't have anyone I reached out to. I had no one. It was just me. Now, I have a group of women that I'm friends with that even if we don't see each other, it's still there. Last night was a great example. I hadn't seen a couple of those people for months, but it's like nothing's changed. When you walk up to them, we hug each other. I am a hugging person, so that is and that's very odd, but I am a hugging person. So I like that touch, and it's been important to me to have that with everyone that I'm around. So I see that. I also see myself standing up for myself more. I don't allow other people to say things about me that aren't true, but I also don't let them think that I'm weak. I'm not there anymore. I'm a lot stronger. I speak up and I speak out.
Yes.
I did it at an event which went half as well as I wanted it to go, but it was a huge step for me because I had never spoken in front of anyone except for at work when I was forced to.
Right.
Other than that, I never would have done that.
Right. And that, I mean, that is profound because it's really symbolic of your growth.
Absolutely.
I mean, that one thing, you being willing to stand up and speak, even though at the end you were like, I didn't share everything I wanted to. But at that point, I wasn't even looking for what you wanted to share. I was looking for you to tap into that inner strength and rise up and stand in front of those women, even if you were silent.
Yeah.
That would have been profound, but you did speak up. And now you're speaking up even more often.
More often.
The honesty, the authenticity is all evident, and it's a beautiful thing to see. So I want to talk about your kids for a few minutes because you're going through some transitions. The darn kids, you know, these littles get big and then all of a sudden they don't need us the same way. And your identity was really wrapped up in being their mom.
Absolutely.
And now they're packing their darn bags and they're moving out and they're not needing us the way that we're used to. What has that done to you?
So when I first came to Rise, one of the first things I think I said was, I don't know who I am. I don't. I've been a mom since I was 19. My oldest daughter, that was what I did. I was a mom. I'm a nurse, but my world was my kids. It was always about my kids from the time they were born until it's still about my kids. Let's be honest, it's still about my kids.
It will always be.
But I was the mom who went everywhere with her kids. I did every sporting event they were at. I was always there. Every activity that I could be at for school, for whatever it was, I was always there. So I didn't know who I was without being a mom. Not that I'm not a mom, but I'm not the same kind of mom.
Right.
And it was very, very difficult for me to adjust to them not needing me, them not needing a ride to school, them not needing a ride somewhere, them not needing they still need advice, but not so much.
Right.
But them just not, I felt like I wasn't needed. It wasn't that they were trying to make me feel that way. They were trying to be grown-ups, but it felt like I was losing myself and who I was.
Right.
Finding her along the way.
You are. She's pretty spectacular. Pretty spectacular.
Yeah.
So you talked about how you kind of were hoarding this part of your story, and when you finally revealed it, there was a release. Talk about how it impacted your kids hearing that.
So after I talked to you that day, I can't remember if I told them the same day or if it was a couple days later. I sat down with them, and I sat with them one by one. My kids struggle, and it's one thing that I never ever wanted to pass on to my kids was my struggles with anxiety and depression, but unfortunately they all three deal with it in their own way. And so I believe I sat with my middle daughter first. She and I are pretty close, and she's very similar to me in a lot of ways. And she sat at the table, and I told her I wanted to talk to her. I explained to her why. And at that point, she was going through some issues of her own, so I wanted her to understand that I do understand where you're coming from. I do get it. It's not something foreign to me. It's not me being a mom. I'm telling you this as this is what happened. And the first words out of her mouth were, why? Why would you do that? Why would you leave us when you mean so much to us? And I cried, and she cried for a while. I sat with my oldest, who again, she struggles with her own issues, her own depression. And her comment was exactly the same. Mom, why? You matter so much. We might not need you the same, but we still need you. And with my son, who is my baby, he will always be my baby. And he just turned 18 in September, so.
Never stop being a baby.
No. When I told him, he didn't say anything. He just looked at me and he cried and he cried. And it broke my heart in a way because I thought I could have missed so many things.
Right.
But it changed our relationship in that now not that they didn't tell me they loved me before, because they always did. That's a very important thing that we've always had since they were little, was no matter where they were going, we always said, I love you. I love you more. That comes out usually.
Right.
But now I think they realize that I'm not telling them things that I don't understand. When we talk about things, when we talk about a lot now, that I'm coming from a place where I understand, but I also feel that they still need me. It's just different. It's just in a different way. But I'm still a mom. Will always be a mom.
Right. Do you see how being part of the Rise Up process is not only impacting you, but it starts to spread to those around you?
It absolutely does. I talk about it a lot, and it took me a little while to talk about it because I didn't want to share it with everybody at first. I just wanted that to myself.
A little possessive.
I have this wonderful thing right now that's making me feel really good, and I'm not ready to share it just yet. And then I started talking about it, and the more I started talking about it, the more. And it was funny because the first person I think that said something to me was my mom. I was talking to my mom, and my mom looked at me and she's like, "You're so different." And I was like, "What do you mean? Like, I'm not different." She's like, "You're different. You smile more. You are happier. You talk about things. It's not just the kids. You're talking about you. You're talking about what you're doing and what your life is like," which I had never really done before. And so I watched other people talking to me, and I'm like, I really do. I talk about it. I talk about it a lot. And then I watched people start to say, okay, tell me more. And one of my friends joined us. So that actually worked out really, really well for her. I had to take a step back a little bit to let her find her way, but she did.
Mm-hmm.
She did.
Mm-hmm. Good stuff.
Absolutely.
So what do you think has been the biggest impact of you choosing to invest in yourself in the Rise Up process, becoming part of the community, engaging with me as your coach?
The biggest take back for me, the biggest thing that's happened is I found who I was as a person, not just a mom and a wife and a nurse and a boss and a friend, whatever it was. I'm a person, and I'm here, and I matter, and these things matter to me, but I'm not alone. I have people I can turn to now. I have someone I can reach out to no matter what, even if it is to kick me in the butt and say, get up and get moving, or I'm coming to get you. Or it's okay, I'm here for you, what do you need? Always. And I can do the same thing. I can do the same thing for those people. I can reach out and say, hey, I noticed I haven't heard from you in a while. What's going on?
Right.
That makes a difference, because I wouldn't have done that in the past. I would have just kept quiet and not said anything. So this has given me the opportunity to be able to feel confident enough to say, I noticed that you're not doing so okay today. Do you need anything from me? What can I do? How can I help?
Right. So your self-awareness and healing has now put you in a position where you can turn around and provide for other women.
Absolutely.
So, there are women watching this. What do you think is something profound that they really need to hear? What can you speak into their life that you think is critical for them to know?
I think the biggest thing is don't wait. Don't say I'll do it later. Don't say I'm not ready. You may not be ready, but you know what? You only get one chance. Don't take that away from yourself. Don't take that away from the people around you. Take the risk and look into your own self. Find where you are, where you want to be, and get there.
It's not always easy.
No, it's still not always easy.
Not always fun.
No.
But it is always worth it.
Absolutely, it's always worth it.
Always worth it. Help me understand, let's say you came to that first Rise event and you chose not to engage, not to invest, what do you think your life would look like right now? Paint that picture for us.
I would definitely not be the person I am today. I would not be this more confident, stronger, happier person, because at that point I was into a very deep, dark place. I was into a very deep depression. I was really, really struggling. I was going to therapy, but it was not getting me anywhere, and I already knew that. And I can't tell you where I'd be, but it would not be here at all.
Okay. So you talk about being in therapy and then being in the Rise Up process. What do you think is the difference? What is the critical component that took you from doing something that was supposed to be beneficial but didn't give you the results to engaging in this and actually seeing a difference?
For me, therapy was talking about what was going on in the immediate time frame. So what I was struggling with. If I had a panic attack, okay, what brought that on? But we never really talked about why or how that affected me or what caused it in the first place. It was literally just, okay, that happened. Here's what you can do moving forward. And it was never looking back. And that looking back is not fun.
Right.
It's horrible. I hate it every time we do it. But it's necessary, because now I can see the things in my past that lead me to where I am now and that trigger me.
Right.
If I didn't know that, I couldn't deal with it. So that's where Rise was different for me, and my one-on-one sessions with you are different, is that I can dig into the ugly and deal with it and learn a way to get past it so that it doesn't keep coming up and it doesn't keep coming back to drag me back down, that I can fight myself, fight that thought, and go, no, you know what? That's not going to happen this time. This is where I need to go.
And I think that's important for you because we talked about control.
Yes.
And I mean, I want every woman that I encounter to build that confidence where she's knowledgeable, she recognizes those triggers, and then she knows how to engage appropriately so they don't take control.
Yep.
But even more so for you, because the whole control thing, I mean, that's a pretty serious mindset.
It's huge
for you. So with processing that past and getting to the root cause of things, to thoroughly dissect it and understand it and work through it, to extract the triggers, put you in a position of control, of power and authority, so you can choose what happens
Absolutely.
next. How do you feel being in that position?
I am a control freak. Very much. I think one of my first sessions with my one therapist was, she asked me a question about something, and I'm like, okay, I'll walk you through my day. And do not throw a monkey wrench into my day, because if something throws off my day, I'm a mess. My anxiety would go through the roof.
Okay.
Not so much now, because I've learned that that doesn't control me anymore. I control it.
Right.
So I can control the fact that, okay, the dogs didn't do what I wanted them to do this morning. They woke me up 2 hours earlier, so it's not going to throw my entire day off. It's only going to throw off that little bit of time frame, and I can get myself back on track before I couldn't have done that.
Right.
But I like controlling the fact that I don't let my past anymore control my future. It's in my past for a reason. I still have to deal with a lot of stuff, and I still have many things to go through. But I don't let that control where I'm headed. I'm headed in a much different direction.
And we like the direction you're headed.
Absolutely. I love the direction I'm headed in.
So would you say, as a result of investing in you, investing in the Rise Up process, becoming part of this community, engaging with me as your coach, that you are now flourishing?
Absolutely. I hear it all the time. I hear it from a lot of different people. I've heard it from people that haven't seen me for years say, you look so different. Like, you look so much different. You're out and about. You're not hiding at home. I go out by myself, which I never, ever went out by myself, ever. I stayed home by myself. I did not go out by myself. I will go to the store by myself. I've gone out to eat by myself, which is very strange, but it's a very different, very big change in me and who I am.
And do you like those changes?
Absolutely. They're amazing.
Good stuff. So let's say there is a woman watching this and she was like, oh my gosh, like Melissa is telling my story, what do you need her to know right now in this moment?
You're not alone. You're not. And you don't have to be there. You can change it, and you should change it.
Because you chose that.
I did choose
You
that.
chose that.
All right. So if you are a woman watching this and you can relate to our story, you can relate to what Melissa is sharing with us, and you're finally ready to break those chains of depression and anxiety and feeling that you're not enough, you're not worthy, and your identity is completely wrapped up in a role of responsibility, and you want to flourish, what would be the next best decision?
Find us wherever you can. We're here. Find us. It makes a difference. Reach out, find someone, reach out to Melanie. Like, this was the biggest step in my life, and I tell her it was the greatest step in my life. It's the best thing I ever did for me.
That's pretty important.
Do it.
Important. Good stuff. All right. Well,
Absolutely.
thank you, Melissa,
Absolutely.
for sharing. I love that you were willing to be vulnerable and share those parts that you didn't want to share, but that's the good stuff.
Absolutely.
That's where the healing is. That's where the overcoming is. That's where the rising up is. So, we can't fear the falling. We
No.
can't fear the failure, because it's the rising up that is just spectacular. And that's what
Absolutely.
God wants for us. That's what God wants for us. So, good stuff. Thank you for
Thank
being
you.
here. All right. Thank you. Have a great one.